Oh, I cut off the title. All right, we'll roll with it. Hey everyone, John here. I am the lead maintainer of Latterly.io. That is a tech literacy platform, career acceleration platform. It'll help you learn to code, land your first or next programming role, grow your social and professional networks. Totally open source. You can sign up for free and join the Discord. Hope to see you soon. Okay, so what are we doing today? Today we are working on the Aria's Tale RAG. So ariastale.com. It's a fun fictional universe. There's like games, like RPG stuff, character classes, notable narrative locations, items, artifacts, people, plot points. And you can read the narrative stuff here. So we're gonna make a game encyclopedia with a RAG. So on GitHub /Vanderveer, I think it's called Aria's Tale RAG. Yeah, Aria's Tale RAG, here we go. And this is the second stream, part 2. See the first stream and I show you how to do a bunch of stuff, run the playground, get communication working with a custom UI and a custom backend. We're gonna do 2 different RAGs in the scope of the series. So a classic RAG and then an agentic RAG. The agentic RAG is like already kind of here in the agent file, right? So Aria's Tale RAG tool, but it's aliasing like a fake tool, so we're going to build out the real implementation there. What we're doing in this stream is indexing the data. We're going to try to index the data. So in the source, I have a CSV file in here somewhere. Where is it? Okay, it's in the scripts folder. So this is the CSV data that we're going to index and include into the RAG. If you want more details about like what a RAG is and why you would use it, go see the first stream. Basically, the RAG is going to sub-select some of these rows and include it in the context window for discussion with the chat tool. But there's this RAG, this data is kind of dirty in some ways. So you see these OAI site markers. I don't want those to show up in the text that's sent to the end user. So one of the things we're going to do in the current stream is clean the data. It's a boring but important task. Cleaning the data that you're going to index is a boring but very, very, very important task. Cleaning data is very important. And that's going to be the intended scope today. So we're going to clone down the repo. I'm on a different computer now than I was the other day, so I need to clone it down. I'll probably get it running just to like reproduce that it's in a stable condition that it was when I committed it. But then we're going to proceed to clean this data and load it in to Postgres with Supabase. And I'm going to try to use local Supabase instead of asking you to create a Supabase account. So both capabilities exist. Supabase is just Postgres database as a service. But they have a cool like local Supabase tool. So I'll try to use that. And if it doesn't work, then I'll just use the regular Supabase. But I'll try to use that because I've worked with a bunch of students that it's just inconvenient for them to go out and make a bunch of these accounts. I also found that China is regionally restricted from the Gemini API. So I'll have to think about, maybe I'll refactor some of this stuff to be compatible with like a local llama or something like that, but I won't be doing that today. Okay, so let's get started by cloning this thing. Cursor over here, just updated my cursor. What version are we at? About. I don't even know where it tells you. Help. About. So we got 1.2.4. I'm not really sure what the changelog is. Let's do that. Why not? What's new in the recent cursor? Why did I just update? I don't know. It just gave me a tooltip that said update, so I updated. Blog. Cursor changelog. Cursor 1.0 is here, July 3, 1.2. So I got 1.2.4 agent to-dos. Oh yeah, I've seen this. So the to-do list feature, that's cool. It helps the language model kind of plan and think a little bit better. Memories, I don't know if I'll use it, but a lot of people like that. PR indexing and search. Not going to be super useful for me here, but at work, that's going to be very useful. Being able to index over PRs has been a weak point. Ooh, agent merge resolution. That is nice. Merge resolution is not really difficult for me, so I have a bunch of experience, but for a lot of people, this will be beneficial. Background agent improvements, we always love to see it. Agents in Slack, I don't really care. At least not on this computer. At work, that'll be great. Okay, cool. So we know some of the changes here. I'm going to get out of PowerShell. I'm going to go over to Git Bash. Boom. I don't really like PowerShell. CD, I'm in the workspace already, git clone. Cool, so we're cloning into Aria's tail rag. I'll CD into Aria's tail rag. And let's go through the motion. So I need to CD into the backend folder and set that up. I'll UV venv to create the virtual environment. I'll source.venv bin. Oh, it's different on Windows, sorry. Venv scripts, activate. Okay, tab to autocomplete. Now I have the parentheses backend. It's actually showing a row up. That's kind of strange. More face on the stream today. Oh, my face is kind of covering stuff up. Let me slide it over to the right. Boom. That way you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. Okay, so I sourced this backend virtual environment, and this is covered in the backend README, by the way. So UV-venv, source it. It's a little bit different on Windows. That's fine. Okay, and now we install the dependencies. Why are we using UV? Because it's faster than pip. Watch how fast this is going to install. Boop, boopity boop, 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 boop. Downloading things in parallel, we love to see it. Got like over 80 dependencies installed in like 6 seconds. Sicko mode. Okay, so we have the dependencies installed. Now I can ADK web. This is the Google ADK playground. We're using the Google ADK in the Pi project to TOML. You can see we're using 1.5. I'll even see if there is an update to that, but first let me make sure that the playground is working. So this is localhost, what is it, 8,000? Cool. So I'm going to pick the source, the agent. So my agent file is in the source directory, and it's exporting the root agent. That's what the Google ADK is looking for. Okie doke. And I'll say roll a die. Oh, bummer. Oh, because I don't have my Google API key. Okay, so I'll get a Google API key. Have it on my other computer, not on this one. Oh no, you're gonna see my key. I'm gonna take this off screen. But this is where I'm going to create a new key. So I'm gonna click that create a new key button. Create key. Nice, now it's ready. Got my top secret key that you can't, don't look. So it says install, this backend requires this. I actually don't mention to copy the env file, do I? That's a miss. So let's say first copy the environment variable file and populate appropriately. Then and so we can do this with cp.env.example space.env. Okay? Kind of updating the docs as I go here. So let me do this again. cp.env. And this is going to copy the environment file. So you see I have this example one that has like the empty key, and it copied it and made this top secret one that doesn't go into version control. Now I'm going to rip this tab off. I guess I can't do that. I'll bring the whole cursor over. You can't see my magic key. Don't hack me, bro. So I saved it. I closed the file. We're cooking. Okay, then I do all these things, and now let me ADK web. Okay, localhost, here we go. I'm clicking source once again. I'm saying roll a die. Boop, boop, boop. So it triggered the roll a dice tool. This is a tool. This is not just a chat model trying to roll a die. So here the agent is connected to roll a dice tool. So this is agent tool usage in the utils file. It's really simple. It just rolls a random 1 to 6 using the Python library. So we're using Python for the backend. UV is a Python package manager. Cool, and why not? Let's see if there is a new release of Google ADK. So let me close this. I will UV remove. Google ADK. So I remove it, and then I'll add it right back. UV add Google ADK, and it will install the latest. And look, we're up to 1.7. Magic. In the newer versions of the ADK, I can call my agent, instead of agent, I can call it more specifically an LLM agent, which is a little more precise to distinguish it from a workflow agent, which might use a sequential multi-agent system. So if you want to do a workflow, there's different ways you can do a workflow. You can have like parallel agents running, you can have sequential agents running, you can have a loop agent that keeps thinking until it's ready. So in the newer versions of the Google ADK, it gives you a more descriptive class name. Instead of using the generic agent, you can use the LLM agent to say, I'm not doing a workflow. Or you can use a workflow agent to say, I'm doing a workflow. And it may be, you don't know until you look at the actual setup, whether it's sequential or whatever, but at least it tells the developer. It's kind of documentation through code. It tells the developer, hey, we're doing actually like a workflow here. This is not currently a workflow. It's just one agent. So I'm giving it that more precise name. Let's make sure it still works. Boop. Okay. Roll a die. Oh no. Try it again. Roll a die. Failed to load source agent, cannot import this. So I need to update my dependencies or sync it. So I added it, but I guess I didn't sync it. Or we uncovered some kind of a bug. So we will check both. Okay, so in theory, I synced the virtual environment. So let's see if it's working now. Could not find a session. That's not good. Roll a die. Nope, still not working. Okay, so what's the complaint here? We might have to roll it back. Did I get the name wrong on this LLM agent thing? Maybe it's like a capitalization thing. Agents, LLM agent. Yeah, okay, it's like a capitalization thing. The LLM has lowercase lm, which I didn't do. I actually don't see where it's imported. It's imported from here. Google ADK agents. Did I import it from the right place? Google ADK agents, yeah. So it's just, it needs the lower lm. Cool, all right, quick fix. Tell me about horses. Good, so the other tool is also working. Horses cannot sleep. They actually can, but this is fine. It just proves that so that lie is good. That lie shows us that the tool is using, because create horse fact, horses cannot sleep. You see that? Okay. Good, so what have we done so far? Sure, update Google ADK, we updated to the latest version, and then we better readme. All right, so the back end is working. Now I will go up a level to my Docker file. So there's a different readme at the root repository. It says start up the back end as described then in this top level folder. So now we're going to use Docker. Let me make sure I'm running Docker. I don't know that I started the Docker app. Dun da da. Okay. Containers. Got a bunch of like old containers. That's fine. If we have a memory issue, I'll clear some of them out, but I think I should be fine. Oops. So it's going to take 10 seconds or so. We'll get ready. So we're building the Docker container with this tag, Aria's tail rag, and then we will run it by the tag name. So it's up to the step where it clones the front end. We have not yet built the front end. So I'm planning to run the front end through the Vite developer, npm run dev, rather than through the Docker container. So basically I'm using the Docker container to hold the backend that we just verified in the ADK playground. How we doing, chat? Everyone doing well? If you're watching, drop me a note. Let me know where you're watching from. We got some folks on TikTok. I don't know where else. Okay. So now we're trying to run the container. And Uvacorn is running. So we're using Uvacorn to run fast API for the backend, and then the backend is connected to the agent in this app.py file. So you can see that the runner includes the root agent, and then the runner is invoked through this post method, the invoke API that's just a standard fast API endpoint, and it sends whatever the user text comes in through here and generates a response stream. So that's how we connect it to the agent. Okay. Do it work though. Do it work though. So localhost 8000 /app can't be reached. Okay, what about localhost instead of the quad 0? Front end not built. Okay, I expect that because I didn't build the front end. The Docker file has like a front end build step, but I don't think it works, which is okay. So now I'm going to go to the front end, Aria's tail rag front end, npmi. Could use pnpm, maybe I should do that, it would install a little quicker. npm run dev. Now we're going to have the Vite UI on this other port, 5173, Aria's tail encyclopedia. And I'll do what I did before, roll a die. Cool, and it works. So this is the same stable location where I previously committed it. Basically, we haven't changed much. We just verified that it's working as expected. I bumped the backend ADK, so it's still working great, but no real big changes here at this point. Okay, so we just verified that the front end dev server is successfully connecting to Docker on the backend, and we can see the Docker backend logs over here. So we received the user content roll a die. I could put something else in, it'll print the input and output. And then here is the, oh, I didn't log the response. That's fine. So now I want to go over to that CSV. Scripts source, here it is. So what do I not like about the CSV? Mainly it's this stuff. There's also the grammatical quotes. I'm not crazy about these. But I guess they're kind of harmless. This is what I really don't want to show up in the UI. We'll see if this prints properly or if it ASCII encodes. If it ASCII encodes, then I'll want to change these to the, standard apostrophe like this. So I'll make a simple script that will use a regex to find stuff like this. Okay, so I'm taking down Docker, taking down the UI, and now in the backend folder, in the scripts folder, I'm going to touch or create a file called update source CSV. I'll just call it that, update source CSV. And we'll make this a Python file. Okay, so I created this over here. I'll give it a explanatory comment at the top, and I'll say this file cleans the source CSV file source.csv was derived from OpenAI Deep Research and includes bad stuff like, oh, it's going to go for a list. That's good. citation markers, and grammatical quotes. Those are the primary concerns. Okay, so now I'll open the composer. Start a new chat. I don't like auto mode. I'm going to pin Gemini 2.5 Pro, which I like. I'm going to say, I'll get this on my clipboard in case it wants to remove my comment. I'll say, create a script which loads .source.csv and uses a regex to remove OAI cite expressions, which look like this. Use the path library, output the result to cleaned source.csv. Okay? Get to work, Gemini. T-Dog, can't you just have it encode how you want it? Yeah, you can. I'm going to preserve the grammatical quote for now, but I could update it to use a replace it with regular apostrophes if I want to. I'm just not sure it's going to create a problem right now, and I want to minimally change the input. And maybe that's bad. Maybe I should go ahead and look for all the edge cases. Whatever. I'm going to take a test and see approach. Oh, we also have content reference. Oh, okay, I got the regex wrong. I guess it should be starting at the colon content reference bit. So I'll say, let's start the regex to capture a longer string like that. So start at the colon. Content reference bit. We will replace the captured string with an empty string. Bulgaru, welcome in. Okay, so it expanded the regex here. Looks good to me. So let's try it, and we are writing to, I just want to make sure we're not overwriting the input. Output path, where's output path? Here it is, clean source, good. Current directory, love it, love it. So here I'll just Python update. Cool, super quick, here we go. And this content looks good to me. Again, we still have the grammatical quotes, but I don't care too much at the moment. So the feature here is clean source script. All right, now the fun part. Now we are going to ingest clean source. And I want to give it context on the repo. So I have this other Copilot instructions thing that includes a copy of the PyProject TOML, and it includes my folder structure of the project to give context to the cursor composer or whatever Copilot you're using. So I'm going to refresh this so it's up to date with the changes we made. We updated the library and whatever. Created a new script, created a new file. So I want the composer to be aware of that stuff. So here I will Python, I think it's called, yeah, create Copilot instructions. So we can see the diff here. All right, so this is a small chore. This is chore update instructions. And now I'm going to drag this over here. I'll say now let's step outside of the CSV cleaning to create an agentic RAG. For now, let's focus on, so I'm telling the composer tool that I want to focus on one task at a time instead of trying to have it go off and do the whole thing. Too many steps, it'll start to have performance loss after a few steps. So I want it to just do one step right now. And that is, I want to focus on setting up a local Supabase Postgres instance, which will later ingest and index the cleaned source. And let me make sure I get that name right. Cleaned_source.csv. Cool, and it made a to-do list. I love that. So we're going to npm install Supabase. I want to verify that. I think that's correct, but I would prefer, if there's options to do it with npm or Python, I would actually prefer Python to keep my back end Pythonic. We'll do whatever we have to do. We want to be flexible, and AI engineering, it's good to know both skills, Python world and web development, TypeScript world. An AI engineer really is a full stack engineer that's aware of how generative AI also works. So from that point of view, we want to be flexible and do whatever the best practice is. But if I can cleanly separate the front end and back end and have front end world TypeScript, back end world Python, that separation of technologies is like nice if I can support it. But if I can't, that's okay. As a prerequisite, you must install a Docker container. Okay, cool, so we can do a container. I'm not seeing a Python option. It looks like, yeah, web dev world is where we're at. But I'm curious if I can use just a container and avoid mixing Python and TypeScript within the backend. So here I have backend. Maybe I should have a third top level, which is like database. Okay. Do I need to install these, or can I use a container instead? Also, should I mix npm and Python package management under the backend folder, or should I have a top level database folder? I'm going to have it do one more thing before we kind of dive in, and I'm going to have it check web to make sure it's referring to the most recent information. So it's going to have a Supabase. Cool. This sounds good. Check the web to make sure the plan reflects the latest best practices from Supabase. And here I'll explicitly use the web tool. I'm going to suppose that it will. Oh, it wants me to make a top level package JSON. I created a folder called database in the Aria's tail rag directory instead of a folder called Supabase. Should we set up the package at the top level or within the database directory? There is already a package.json in the front end directory. I want to be careful to avoid conflicts and keep the top level directory minimal if possible. And this reflects laterally prompt engineering practices. So I'm giving it a what I was thinking and letting it decide based on its plan and my plan. Did I persuade it? And I'm not forcing it. I'm using questions. And if I persuade it successfully, we'll go with the synthesized result. But if it pushes back strongly, I'll go ahead and accept its result. Okay, so cool, let's run this. It's having complaints because it's trying to use PowerShell. So I will do this myself. Fine, I'll do it myself. npx, supabase, and knit within the database folder. I'm not using Dino. Okay. I ran npx, supabase, and knit myself. The config.toml file we expect is now in place. Stage these. Go ahead and push it actually. Looks like the command is working. npm install supabase save dev. It looks like it's working, it's just taking some time. I'll give this about 10 more seconds, and if it doesn't complete, then I will run it myself. I noticed that a backend or a package.json was not correct, or was not package.json was not created. Thank you. Food just got here. Should I create database slash package.json, which is a sibling of the Supabase dir, or should I create package.json inside of? Okay, so it wants a sibling of the Supabase directory. So I'll npm init-y npm I Supabase, and it wants to save dev. I'll go ahead and npm I. Okay, so let's try to run it. I'm going to run it myself. That shell, the PowerShell that's inside of Cursor Composer, has a bunch of issues. Not just today, by the way. This is a frequent issue. So I don't like using PowerShell, and I think the language models are generally more familiar with Bash. So it's doing lots of Docker things right now. So the Supabase, local Supabase instance will be run through Docker. We can see it's downloading a newer image for Supabase slash Postgres. Okay, so it created a base image and now it's updating that base image. Supabase real-time is an additional component that's now loading, so it looks like the Postgres itself is done and we are loading the real-time connector, which will give us a web API that our application is going to use to interact with that database to save things, retrieve them, that sort of stuff. Now we're getting go true. I think that's used for authentication largely. It says no files match the seed SQL file. I'm actually going to make note of this. Because we might want to take our CSV file and load it in through SQL. I'm not sure that's necessary. We could do, yeah, that won't be necessary. We can use the web API. I would actually prefer that, to use a Python script which is going to load through the Supabase web API instead of using a seed file. Cool, now we're getting the bells and whistles. Mail for email integration. I don't need that, but I guess it's just downloading standard with the Supabase stuff. So we got the mail is done. What other containers are we downloading? We're downloading everything in Edge runtime. Nice. I can turn my my little PC here into a server for you. And the Studio, this is a great bell and whistle that we'll actually use. So I will be able to browse the database in a web UI, which is super nice. I love that Supabase does that. Okay, so it's performing health checks. That means it thinks everything is downloaded. It's just confirming that it's working properly. Looks like the health check passed. Okay. Printed a bunch of stuff. I don't know if I need this. But I will stash it in case I do. So I'll make a .env under the database, which should be ignored. Good. And I can just save whatever I want here. And it won't be submitted to GitHub. But I'll kind of stash it that way. Good. So how can I confirm if it's running? So here is the studio URL. Okay, and so it is running actually. So it's currently running in daemon mode. That means it's not blocking my terminal here. You see I can still interact with the terminal, but if I bring Docker over, the container is running in the background in daemon mode. And we're using port, what port was that? So for the studio, 54323. Oh, I can just see this whole grouping of database containers. So nice, so Supabase put all their containers into a group, which makes it easier to work with. So 5432, here's the browser one right here. So we can see it's all running. I could hit the stop button and start it, but I'll let it go. Okay, Postgres is now running in Docker, and I'll more specifically say Supabase. Postgres is now running in Docker. And I'll say, should we create a new script and backend slash scripts to load cleaned source.csv, or is there some other important steps before we do that? Gemini is thinking, I've just initiated the Supabase instance, which is a solid win. That's a huge milestone. Thanks, bro. Okay, so it's making this to-do list. I really love this to-do list feature that it's keeping in memory. I love that. Start the instance, and so it's agreeing, view all, it's agreeing, oh, it's actually jumping to defining the table before we load it. That makes sense. We want to make sure the table is ready for ingestion first, right? Okay. I'm going to do this myself. Okay. Is done, and I've attached the empty migration file that was created. Okay, so now Cursor should fill out this table to comply with our schema, and we can see it was already thinking about the schema. ID created at kind name content. It understood these are the right columns based on looking at the CSV earlier. Okay, so we'll accept this. Now it wants to apply the migration. Again, I'm running this myself. npx Supabase db reset, which would completely wipe your database, by the way. If you have a stateful database, keep in mind that running the db reset will tear down all your tables. I'm happy with that because I don't have any tables active. But if you were like pretty deep in your database, you would want to do that a different way. Like a zero downtime migration or something like that. I'm happy with this approach. So I'm just giving it this last relevant line, finished the DB reset. I'm going to go ahead and stage this migration. And we can see it's getting ready with an vector vetting right here. Because cursor already knows, I told it earlier, I said don't do it yet, but I'm going to want to ingest this text and vectorize it. Oh, and I guess there is a Supabase Python dependency, unless it's hallucinating. So it's making this new script called ingest data. I'm fine with that name. I usually like to create, read, update, and delete, prefix my script names and even my function names and stuff like that, just keeping it to those. But this is pretty intuitive, so I'm fine with it. It seems I'm blocked from creating the env directly. This is a good security measure. Yeah. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to bring cursor off screen. And so what we're doing, we're taking the Supabase Postgres instance, which is running in Docker, and it told us where it's located. So if I scroll up, it said like, hey, this is where I'm at, and here's our keys and stuff. But I need to take that because it's isolated in the database folder, and I need to tell my backend about those parameters so that my backend can communicate with the isolated database. Does that make sense? That's why we're doing this step. So I'm taking that off screen, going to my env file. And I'm even adding them to the example file, but I will empty the values. So there are two particular values right here. Cool. So this is the example file. You can see these are the two keys that I'm adding, and then I populated the value in the env file. Let me also update the readme. First, spin up the local Supabase Postgres database in database. That, once the PG Docker container is set up successfully, you will be able to get the needed environment files, needed environment variables for Python communication to the database instance. Next, copy the environment variable file, copy the backend, environment variable file, and populate appropriately. Okay, so when future people do this, keep it up, King. What's up, King Smokar? Thank you so much. Thanks for the rose. Appreciate you, TikTok. 340 likes on TikTok. Thank you so much. Okay, so whoever comes across this next, they're actually going to do the database first. We went service first and database second, but the container is a dependency. So they'll be doing the database Supabase first, and then they'll come over here and they'll be able to populate the environment variables. I added this dependency, so let me also go over there. I'll have 3 terminals now. So now I'm going to source the virtual environment and update So I'm going to source the virtual environment on this terminal, which is my backend terminal. And I'm going to update my dependencies this way. And we should see that Supabase was added. Good. And that updated this one, and we need to prove that the ingestion is working now. So I'll go, cursor tells me once you've done that, I can install the new dependency and run the script. We already installed the dependency. I'm going to run the script myself now. So cd scripts, and since I have the virtual environment active, I don't need to UV run. I can just Python ingest data. Ooh, must be set. Okay, so I need to run it from here. That's a good note that I should add to the README. So here I will Python scripts ingest data. Ah, okay, it's reading the environment variable from a wrong location. It's assuming that I'm going to run this out of root. So I just want this to go one level up. That's where my env file is. So the path file parent is the scripts directory one parent up. Okay. Good, data ingested successfully. So let me go to the README and specify. Haven't yet loaded. Okay, actually, let me do the RAG step first, because in the future we'll have the RAG equipped and that 80K won't work. Now you can load the CSV data into the PG database for vector indexing. Okay, and now you can run the CDK. So the feature here is ingest CSV. Okay, so we ingested the CSV, but it is not yet converted to a vector embedding. So we're going to make a new script for that. And we would like to create a new migration as well. Okay, so let me go over to the database folder. We're going to reset Supabase DB again to apply this new migration. Cursor says, let me know once you've reset the database and re-ingested the data. So I'm going to need to run that ingestion script one more time. And I expect he's just going to run the generate embeddings. So I'll go ahead and do both of those in one pass. So we applied both migrations. I'll give it this readout. And then I'm going to shift enter dash 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 to show it that this is a separate result. I'm going to go over here to the back end. Python ingest data, and Python scripts generate embeddings. And I would rather call it create embeddings. No module Google generative AI. This is a real bug. It's using an old package. So I'm going to tell it. I'm going to give it another separator here, and I'll say note that Google.generative AI is an obsolete library. And I'm just going to give it the web tool so it can go out and find what it should find, which is Google.genAI. I'm going to go ahead and just tell it as well. I already have the more modern installed, but I still want it to go out to the web so it can confirm that and so it can understand the correct current syntax, because the syntax is different between these libraries. I'll also bump the patch on my pyproject.toml. We've changed some of the library versions, so it's worth bumping. And I want to see, why is it calling Google to generate embeddings? So we're getting a Supabase client, cool. We are selecting documents. Okay. We're creating embeddings specific to Google. That's a really interesting note. I thought that we were going to do Postgres embeddings, but here we're doing Google Gen AI embeddings. Let me also confirm on that. That should work fine, but a lot of other people won't be doing that. To be clear, we want to create Google embeddings, not Postgres embeddings. Is that right? And we're using this text embedding 004 model. Yes, that's exactly right. Okay, that's fine for me. Just wanted to confirm. So I'm going to have it go to the web again. Apparently it got the syntax wrong for the embed content method. That's close to correct, but something is wrong with it. I could go search myself, but I'll let it search the web. If it continues to run into an issue, then I'll go check myself. Okay, so it thinks that it found the fix. So let's see how it changes the code. I'll get my commit message ready. This feature is create embeddings, and I'll say with Gemini models text embedding 004. So the embedding will be particular to this embedding model, which I'm fine with. Still a little bit wrong on the syntax here. We're making progress though. So it's examining parameter names. Okay, and it thinks it found the fix for that issue, which is a different issue than the previous one. So I don't consider this yak shaving yet. I don't think that Gemini is stuck. And it's just a matter of adding the S. I'll get rid of those comments. They seem unnecessary. And it got the other thing wrong as well. And I will say, let me go ahead and look up the type definition here. I'll say, please verify all argument syntax. Or please verify all syntax for embed content. Because I don't want to have to like, oh, it worked, and then adjust that one, and then adjust that one. So it's getting them one by one, but I'm asking it to take a broader look. Thank you again for your remarkable patience. No worries. No worries, buddy. And we like the new library, right? So it's a breaking syntax change, but it's actually simpler. So I quite like it. Okay, so I think let's see if it can fix it or if it tries to search the web on its own. I think we actually saved the embedding, but we're unable to get the reply from Supabase because that is not subscriptable. Another attribute error here. It's looking through these documentation. It's like the language model is assuming that I'm frustrated. I'm not frustrated, buddy. But I will go out and look at it myself. Oh, okay. I guess the embedding response documentation is not very good. So it's having to actually print stuff out. Well, that was a smart move. So it's going to grab embedding 0 values. Cool. Works for me. Successfully updated. Let's go. There's going to be 175 of these. All right, chat. Well, now you've seen how to store the vector embeddings. I'm not going to have you hang on for 170 of these. Stay tuned for part 3 where we will do the retrieval portion. But at this point, we have the database spun up and we are saving the CSV data, converting to a vector, saving the vector form. And then the last step will be on the agent side to replace the kind of like mock tool, which is the create horse facts tool, to mock that with a real retrieval logic that will query Supabase using a vector query. And then we'll get those right splits, the right subsections of context that we're interested in. They'll be appended into the agent's memory to produce and generate the chat response, which is what we're aiming for with retrieval augmented generation. Thanks again. You can also check out part 1 again if you didn't already see that. You can sign up at latterly.io for free and join the community. If you have any questions, or drop them right here on the video. Subscriptions, likes, all appreciated. Share it with a friend.